Welcome to the Encouragement Engineering Podcast. We combat the negativity that inundates people's lives with a daily positive perspective and positive actions. Today's guest is Tess Scott. Tess has lived through multiple divorces, married her husband twice, and raised a brood of boys, which only goes to prove God is full of grace and mercy. He has guided her through breast cancer, bathroom renovations, and menopausal hormones. Tess is on a mission to encourage women of all ages that they're not alone. As a former black sheep turned Jesus girl, her redeemed life screams of the prodigal daughter, unmistakably chosen. And it's this hope, that story of redemption and God's indisputable faithfulness that she brings to encourage women. She began the Listen Sister Encouragement for Women Ministry in 2020, and Tess is also an author of Listen Sister, Finding Hope in the Freak Show of Life, launching this June of 2022. It's a collection of short, embarrassing yet true stories that reveal how God teaches us through every experience, reminding us where our hope lies. Women need to laugh and they need truth. So please welcome to the show, Tess Scott. Tess, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Bob. I really appreciate you having me on.
Oh, not a problem. I really enjoyed, what you have in your bio there and finding out more about you. It's really fun. And as you could tell just by the clips in your bio that you're fun and relatable. So I think this will be a lot of fun.
Oh, good. Yeah. Good. Oh, it's always fun, right?
Yeah, that's right. Well, if you can, tell the audience about you and how you got to where you are.
Okay. So most recently, I guess, boy, it's a long story. I'm old, so there's a lot of things to tell about who I am. So like you said in the bio, I've been married a few times, I guess. And the last thing that would have happened would be that my husband, Rick, left our marriage in 2012. So that was a really, really hard time, like the worst time of my life. And I was like face first in the green carpet in my bedroom and just begging God that would not happen, partly because I didn't want to raise the kids. Most of them were older, but even so, like being a single parent again, partly because like the shame and embarrassment and just like going through that again. But he did allow that to happen. And it was awful. But through that time, like that's the time that I grew the most, right? I don't want to do it again. Okay. Don't hear me say that I ever want to live through that again, because I don't, but I learned so much during that time. Wow. I learned like that. So I wouldn't want to give up that time, if that makes any sense. And that's easy to say because I can't. So, you can't hold there's this thing anyway. So good luck with that. And then, so fast forward to 3 years, we were actually divorced. And then 3 years later, we got, so he just sent me a text, or I guess I sent him a text and he actually answered it. So that was amazing, because most of the time there's just ignoring there. And so we started answering my messages, weird. And then having conversations, really weird. And then asked me out for dinner. So I was very suspicious then. And it was good dinner. And just said he wanted to be part of my life again, so we started dating, and then eventually we got remarried. So how bizarre is that, right? Like, it's just so amazing and wonderful, and it's so great. And then right after that happened, we got married on September the 9th. And then on the 30th, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, just out of nowhere. So again, I thought this is the worst timing possible. I have no husband for 5 years, and now I have my husband back and I'm sick, right? I couldn't fathom the timing of that, and I wasn't happy about it. Now, right, in hindsight, that timing allowed my husband to show that he loved me. Like, he got the opportunity to take care of me. So if the timing was different, and I got sick, and then Rick said, you know what, you're sick, I want to come back, I want to take care of you, I would have been like, really? Like, nice try, buddy. I would never have trusted that, right? So really, in hindsight, it was the best timing. If there's ever a good timing to have cancer, it was really great timing. But a lot of times we don't see that at the time, right? Perspective, like later on.
And I think that's a good thing. We got to remember God has a bigger perspective than we do.
Yeah.
Here's ours, and his is, omnipresent. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah. Well, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you got through that, through your many uphill battles and so forth. And yeah, it seems like hindsight is a definite strength that we learn from a lot of these events. It's interesting because you talk about encouraging others from your experiences.
Yeah.
And, not only your book talks about that, but you just explain that situation there. Um, eh, do you feel that value, the encouragement is critical for people you talk to in the groups you start?
Oh, yes. I think the last couple of years have been incredibly difficult. I mean, in every aspect of our lives.
Right.
Um, but I think as a woman personally and my friends, like we felt very isolated.
Okay.
I like to be with other people. Probably doesn't seem like it, but I'm kind of
Yeah.
an extrovert
You're right.
person.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I get my energy from other people, and like over a screen is okay, but it's just not the same. So
Right.
we felt really isolated, and I think it's easy to get discouraged in that kind of situation. Like we're supposed to be together, like we're a body, like we're supposed to meet together. So that was difficult, and I think that it's easy to get down about things when you don't have that encouragement of other people. I think it's encouragement is just really, really, it's really important. It's really
Yeah.
important.
I think it gives what I always talk about is it lets you look at things just a little bit differently. I mean, you might be straight on seeing the can't see the forest for the trees, and then you just shift a little bit. Ah, there's that thing. And that really helps people because then you see the light bulb come on and it's like, yeah, that's it. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that people can relate. Like if you hear something from someone and you feel like, yes, that's me. I've been there. I've done that. I've felt that way. Then it's almost like exponentially encouraging,
Right.
right? Because that person gets you,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
And then they tell, that like the old commercial. Yeah. So
Yeah.
she does the first and then she does theirs. And then, what was that?
Yeah.
A Head and Shoulders commercial or something?
Not just for shampoo. It works for
Yeah.
everything. Yeah. That's right. That's right.
That's something. One of as most of the audience can hear and see if you're watching the video, you're kind of relatable to people. Not only in just having fun in these real life situations. I think, does that give you more energy to share your situations, to share the ideas and the encouragement with others then?
Yeah, I like that I can just be real. Like
Yeah.
there's never a facade. So I'm pretty in the book or when I speak to people, it's just I am who I am. So in some ways, like I always say, if I'm doing an event, maybe I'm a little bit nervous at first, but I say like, well, if I fall off the stage, it's all part of the whole thing. Really? Like no one's gonna be surprised. It's all part of it. So I think that's kind of the relatable part of it, right? Like this is what I want to tell women. And I think when I was a young mom,
Mhm.
long time ago, and I would talk to my friends, on my rotary dial phone or whatever,
Yeah, right.
and go visit them at their house. I saw their lives for what they were, right? They had imperfect lives, just like mine. Their life was a freak show, just like mine was. And that was okay. But now I look at my daughter-in-laws and they see their friends a lot online,
Right.
right? So if your perception of the world is Instagram, and you're seeing this perfect Instagram house, that's not real life,
Yeah.
right? You open that front door and guess what? There is laundry on the couch, just
Yeah.
like every other girl has, right? That's what I want to encourage them. All of our life, we're in this sisterhood of mayhem. Like all of our lives are imperfect, and that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay, right?
And that's a good realization for people to understand too, is the Instagram is a snapshot,
Yes.
of our life. Okay. And it could be a fake picture.
Yes.
So, I'm sure there's dust bunnies when you walk into a house. Oh, well, what's the criticality of it?
Yeah.
And is that your big picture or is that just something that you'll get to? I mean, the bigger picture is how you treat yourself, how you treat your family, how you're growing. What are you doing in that household? How you're treating each other? So yeah, it's that perspective. I appreciate that because a lot of times maybe people do need to go back to old school where we didn't have all this stuff. Remember the while you were out pads? You didn't get a call when you were out constantly. You waited to get back in the office and you had a pad of messages.
Yes.
You know,
I like that. Yeah. I was
yeah.
telling a young mom yesterday, when you have kids in your house, expect your house to look like you have kids. It's okay. It's okay. That's
Yeah.
what's going to happen. I mean, I was overwhelmed with it because we have 8 boys.
Yeah.
So, and they weren't all, at the same time or anything, but there was a lot of boys, a lot of,
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a
it was nuts.
reality. I got 3,
Yeah,
and
it
I
was,
know. Yeah,
it was nuts. Right. And so, I mean, I did the best I could, but the house looked like kids lived there because they
yeah,
did.
yeah,
Because
exactly. And with
so
8 of them, there's gonna
yeah,
be some funny smelling stuff.
there was there was some gym stocks happening for sure.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
the more important things that you're doing is feeding into the lives of these children,
yeah,
right? That's more important work than whether there's dust, because there's dust.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's gonna be there. So yeah, what's the
Yeah.
bigger picture? That's something. I mean, that alone, 8 kids. Wow, that's
Yeah,
oh
that's
boy.
the freak show, right? That's the freak
Yeah,
show. That's the freak show of life. So my husband had 2 kids, and I had 4 kids and adopted 1 special needs.
okay,
So that
wow,
made 7. And then we thought 7, that's like an odd number. We should actually have another one. So that's not true, but we do have 8. There's 8. Yeah.
that's something. Wow.
So it's fun. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, after 2, you're outnumbered anyway, so
Right.
let's just have fun.
You might as well just have fun, and they play together. Sure. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
When they're not trying to annihilate each other.
right. Yeah, especially boys. Everything's a competition.
No, yeah, that's the thing with boys. I hear from families with girls that it's totally different, but I know nothing about that.
Yeah,
Are yours also boys?
yeah. All mine are boys. All 3 boys. And it's funny because my best friend growing up, he came from a family of 11. So yeah, I understand that. House
Yeah.
full of people.
It's the best times. I love it. I love it when everybody comes home and, we have big dinners and things like that, Christmas and
I bet you don't have a small pan in your kitchen.
we don't have.
Yeah,
Well, now it's quiet. Most of them are grown up. I have one 18-year-old at home, and everybody else is out in school and working and all those things. So they all survived. I want to
Yeah.
say that right now, they all survived, and we're still going strong. So yeah, when we get
Great.
together, it's big family. It's like 23 people for Christmas and stuff.
Wow.
So because they're married with kids and
Yeah.
all that. So it's great. It's a great time. I'm glad. And now I'm learning all these stories about things. Right. That's the whole book. We'll
Yeah.
sit around at Christmas and someone will say, hey, remember the time that they tied me up and, tied me up to the tree in the backyard? And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I have no idea all these things that I'm finding out now. So yeah, it's kind of fun.
That's something.
Yeah.
And it's, I was reading through your website too, and it's funny. It talks about don't despair, you're among friends. Is that your motto?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Everybody's your girlfriend, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we just all want to know that we're not the only one.
Yeah.
I want women to know that they're loved. And I just want them to know, like, everybody's life is a freak show, whether you have 1 kid or you don't even have kids. Maybe you're not even married. Maybe you don't want to be, that's all. It's all fine. But nobody has a perfect life.
Yeah.
And I think we have this perception that other people have something we don't have, and it's just not true. So being content with what we have and encouraging each other, it's really just what I want to do, is encourage women.
And that's a great point, because we do need to be content with what we have. I mean, our society, you turn on the blue tube and everything's telling you're not good enough. You don't have enough money. You need more windows. You need more whatever, you don't. Okay. You realize your value and the greatness you have within you. Obviously you have a strong faith. How has that played in, realizing your growth?
Oh man, I can't imagine my life without it. I mean, that's everything. I would never have made it. That's everything to me.
Yeah.
And I didn't always have faith. I grew up in church, like in Sunday school as a little girl. My grandpa brought us, but I wasn't really raised that way. So I knew, I knew in my head, but I didn't live with it, and I think there's a difference between knowing about God and having a relationship with God. And that was the difference, right? So, and then that relationship still grows bit by bit.
Yeah.
And so we never stopped growing. I mean, my mentor, my Aunt Bet, who just passed away last month, was 97. She would have been
Wow.
90 yesterday. And she was amazing. And when she talked, she encouraged more women than anybody. What do you call it? My book, the word, what is the word? Anyway, I said my books for her. I can't think of the word for it, but anyway. Thank you. That's the word. I lose words sometimes.
Yeah.
I dedicated the book. I can write them. I just can't say them. I dedicated the book to her because she has encouraged and influenced more women than I can ever imagine through her lifetime.
Right.
And she would say things like, I wake up in the morning and I lay in my bed and I say, well, Lord, is today the day that I get to come to you? And he says, no, old lady, get out of bed. I got stuff for you to do. And she just talked back and forth to him like he's right there, like that close of a relationship. And I just can't imagine my life, my faith. I never would have made it without God.
Right. Sure. And I think that's a great perspective because again, there's so much we don't know, so much we're not gonna know. Yeah, my father was older when I was born. He was 47 when I was born. He passed away when he was 90, just 2 weeks shy of his 91st birthday. Nice. But as they get older, you realize, you see that kind of getting closer to God because they, like you said, maybe they know, maybe they understand, okay, this isn't going to last forever. Obviously, none of us are here permanently, but having that relationship, it makes that easier, that realization easier. That okay, someday we won't be here. But the things, and my aunt told me this after he passed away, she said, you know what, you can never take away the things that he put in your heart. You can't, and that's, that's faith because, God's got him. God's watching over you. And it's great strength in that. And I really appreciate, what you're doing, helping women to see that. I think that's critical. And for those listening, guys, we can do that too. It's okay. Yes. Well, let's go into your book a little bit because it is, it's funny. The stories are real. You guys, you're going to get this, she's releasing it in June of 2022. The book's going to be available. It tells about events and stories, but there's a point to them all. And if you can talk about that, because I think that's so cool, how you talk about that. I mean, I was reading one of the stories and it really struck me because it was about you picking up somebody that was walking in the rain. And you felt that nudge of pick them up. And that's so hard. I mean, I'm sure a lot of us feel those scenarios, but at the end of it, you say, take that faith, step into your faith and let it be.
Yeah. And I haven't always listened. Right. So that's just being truthful. Like sometimes I haven't, and sometimes I regretted it. Like how many opportunities do we have that we don't even know are happening around us, right? So I don't know if you've read the story yet, but I was working at a college, and the girl that was the cleaner there, she came in one day for her shift and came to my office, and she seemed to be upset, like she was crying or whatever, and she wanted to ask me a question. I didn't have a relationship with her, really. I mean, I knew her name, and so I asked her what was wrong, and she said, she wanted to ask me this question: when you had cancer, were you scared? And I said, yeah, of course. Like I was mortified. I was really scared. What's going on? And she said, I think I have cancer. I'm going to find out this week or something. What did you do when you were scared? So I said, well, when I was scared, I prayed because I have a relationship with Jesus. I can talk to him anytime. And I prayed and it gave me peace no matter what happened. And she said, oh, okay. And then she walked away. And I knew, like, when you know God's saying something to you, there's no doubt. So I knew God wanted me to go to pray with her. Yeah. And like, Like, no, I'm not going to go pray with her. Like, are you kidding? How about this? So I like to kind of bargain.
Barter with God.
How about you bring her back to my office? I bring her in my office. I close the door so nobody knows she's in here. And then I pray with her. So I'll just wait for that to happen. That was my deal, but he didn't do that. So then it was about the end of the day, I think about 4:30 or something. I had to leave. I still had not seen her, but I knew, okay, Tess, you are not leaving this building until you find her. So I walked around to find her. She was cleaning upstairs in this big lunchroom. Now, let me explain this lunchroom. Glass walls on 3 sides, the center of the building where every person could see you. And that's where she was. So I had to go into that room. I mean, I had to, because there was no doubt I had to go in there. And I said to her, can I pray with you?
Yeah.
And thinking, please say no. And I'm just being honest here. Like, no, I'm not always a good person. And she said, oh, please, or yes, or something. She wanted me to. She was crying. And so I put my arm around her and I prayed with her. And then I went home.
Yeah.
And then I came in the next day and I never saw her again for months, like months. And I didn't know what happened. Like, I'm assuming she got cancer. I don't know.
Right.
You know, no, I don't even know her last name. Like, I couldn't look her up. No one knows, because she was kind of like one of the, like an invisible person. You know, she was the cleaner who came in, and no one had bad feelings about her, but we didn't know her. Right. So anyway, so fast forward a few months, and a man came to my office and he said, are you Tess? And yes. And he said, well, my wife wanted me to come and find you. This is her name. And I said, oh, is she okay? You know, and he said, well, she's out in the car and she wants to see you. So I went out to her car and opened the door, and she had lost over 100 pounds. Oh. And she was bald. She had no hair. She was in chemo. If I saw her, I would not have known that's who it was, except right. He told me that's how bad she looked. And so I knelt down and I gave her a hug, and yeah, so from there I visited her. She went into palliative care at the hospital, and I got to pray with her and talk to her about salvation. And, you know, it was unbelievable opportunity. And what an honor that is, to be able to speak into someone's life, especially someone whose life is going to end soon.
Right.
You know, I'm so glad that I actually did do what God wanted me to do, because I haven't always, but that's just one opportunity that I had. And I think I try to remember in the morning just to ask God, like, just give me opportunities and show me, like, open my eyes to see what's going on around me. Because I think all kinds of things are happening and we don't even see it, you know?
And that's a great point, because our society goes at 900 miles a minute. And we've got to slow down. And I think asking God for that help is a big one, because he controls the speed of the rotation of the earth. So I think he can, maybe control the speed you see things. Yeah. And he's got a great sense of humor. It's funny that you said that. Yeah, just bring her back into my office. God's like, nah, you're going to go to the auditorium,
Yeah. Exactly. Where all the glass walls are, where everyone can see you, girl.
But that's a good point in our society, because so many times we do need to step out, whether that's helping somebody, talking to somebody, having follow-up conversations, whatever it may be. Yeah. That strength to do that is critical. And maybe we don't have it within us, but God helps us with it. Yeah. Do you find that to be a big, if you will, I won't say a crutch, but it's more of a support mechanism for you, knowing that he has that support for you?
Oh yeah, 100%. I couldn't do it. I mean, and sometimes Aunt Bet always said arrow prayers. That was her little thing. Like, just at that moment, just saying, oh, help me, Lord. Just that little arrow prayer, it doesn't have to be a big conversation. It's just like a little, like, help me. That's it. That's all I need. Help me. So I don't know how else I would do it. I can't imagine.
That's a good idea. You mentioned the arrow prayers. I come to think of it, I say those a lot. And it's usually when I'm, frustrated, something's not working right, or I can't get something going. I say, Lord, give me the strength. Help me see this, yes. Because you've frustrated your mentality out, and all of a sudden there it is. really? Okay. But, again, part of that slowing down, you
Yes.
know, and being able to see a bigger picture. It's just a simple thing. I mean, a couple weeks ago, I was changing the filter on the pool and cleaning it out, and putting it back together was always so tedious. I'm like, why is this it would take 20 to 30 to 40 minutes putting it back together. Like, wait a second, there's got to be a better way. Pull up YouTube, pull up a video. Sure enough, right there, here's a slot. What? I can put the whole thing together and slide it. Ah. It's like, okay. Yeah, I was done in 10 minutes. It was like, okay, thanks, God. Yeah.
No kidding. Yeah.
Because I wasn't seeing it right there, right in front of me. And it's like, really? I'm a tech guy, and here I don't even utilize it because I want to be somewhat self-sufficient, but we got to rely on that. That's something.
Yeah.
Well, another thing I've noticed is, obviously with your cancer, you've overcome some hard situations, being married twice. And I love the picture on your website because it shows your family. And if you take a look at our website, you'll see this picture. It's a sideways picture because you large family there. Yeah. Is that a big support factor for you? I mean, we talked about it a little bit earlier, but I'm just confirming that.
Yeah, it is. Like, of course I love my family, and they are supportive. Like, I'm so thankful that my boys got married, because boys are not girls. I know girls, they care. Well, boys care too, but they never think to say, how are you feeling? How are you doing? I remember when I had cancer, like when I had chemo, I must have just started chemo, and I was really, really sick, and I was laying on the couch, and one of my younger sons, Cam, was still living here at that time. And so he had friends over to do something in the kitchen, and I don't know what they were doing, except it was really noisy. Right? And I was laying on the couch, and I said to my husband, a girl would never do this.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know what they're doing in there, but make it stop.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have great daughter-in-laws. I'm so thankful.
It's definitely a different perspective. So I've seen people that say that too. You need a good woman because they will see things differently than you, and they do.
They do. Yeah. My boys are great. I love them. Yeah. They're just different. I mean, boys are driven by competition, and everything is a game with mine anyways. And everything. Yeah. My kitchen floor at the house before this was just this huge, big wrestling arena.
Yeah.
Every night after dinner, it was like, it didn't matter how old you were or where you were in the pecking order. It was who could take who.
Yeah.
And I'm not exaggerating when I say at least 5 nights a week. That's all it was. Oh, yeah, you can. You think you can? You want a piece of this? Okay.
Yeah.
And off it goes. Yeah.
Yeah. And that was either before or after the meal,
Yeah. Usually after. Yeah. Instead of helping with dishes. Usually.
Yeah. Right. That's a way to get out of the dishes. We'll do this instead. Yeah. That's something. Well, now the other thing, it's always interesting too in your book. Another thing I saw in there, it says, our situation does not determine our identity.
Yeah.
And I love that, because we talked about this a little bit before about, Instagram, that instant snapshot, and you've lived that. Your situation was not your destiny of being divorced and being face down in your room crying and praying.
Yeah.
How else has that grown in your life, and how do you help others to realize that?
Yeah, we just talked about this today. Actually, I just talked about this with a group of women today, because it's so important. And sometimes the enemy lets us, or tries to put in our mind, this thought that we are not enough, or we are whatever, that we're not. So it's so important to know what God says about our identity. I mean, he made us, so he gets to decide who we are, right? But part of my struggle was the divorces, right? So the shame of that. And unfortunately, part of that was in the church, right? Part of that was in not being accepted by other people, even when I came back to God, right? So like the prodigal girl comes home, and people weren't always happy about that.
Right.
So that's sad. I want to do a better job of that in the church. And that's what we are talking about today, of just welcoming people in.
Yeah.
right? Because we are not our past, whatever that is.
Yeah.
Everybody has a past. They're just all different. People
Yeah.
struggle with different things. Yes, not everybody's been married 4 times. Okay, good for you. But you have other things in your past, and perhaps it's pride. I don't know. I'm just going to say it.
Yeah.
Like, not you, but just people in general. Like, everybody struggles with something or struggled with something. But that's not who we are.
Right.
We are, accepted and loved and forgiven and a daughter of the King.
And that's a big one sometimes to swallow, to know that we're forgiven, because we carry around these bags of rocks of our past, and that idea of forgiveness is like we're not worthy of that. So it can be a bad spiral. And you've explained that very well. It's like we've got to know that great value we have, and that we are forgiven, and be reminded that we're forgiven. And it says it in that big book called the Bible. It's got 66 books in it. You can choose which one you want to read first, but it's there, and it tells you that. And that's a good reminder that we don't have to carry around a bag of rocks.
Right. That's right. And I think that is actually the most important thing, filling your head with truth. Yeah. Right. And I say that over and over to women. What do you know to be true? And I say it to myself, because I need to hear it too. What do I know to be true? Because I can feelings are not truth.
Right.
Feelings are not truth, right? What do I know to be truth? And the only thing I know to be true is the Bible. That's the only thing in this world that I know to be true. And truth is getting less and less and less easy to find right now.
Oh, yeah.
So I know the Bible's true. And what does that say about me? What does the Bible say about Tess? What does the Bible say about Bob?
Yeah.
Right? Keeping that in my mind all the time. That's the track that needs to be in my mind all the time, going and going and going. And when I have a bad day, or I have negative thoughts and I'm spiraling, because spiraling happens, right?
Yes, it does.
Stop. What do I know to be true? Right?
You're loved, that you're forgiven. Yeah.
Yes, you're loved, you're forgiven, you're accepted, you're all those things. Sometimes I write them out, what do I know to be true about God?
Yeah.
Writing it out, right? Getting on the right frame all the time. And I tell women to write something on a card, like whatever, especially if you're struggling with something, but write a verse on a card, put it somewhere where you're going to see it all the time. So maybe on the windowsill above your sink, or in bathroom mirror, or probably by your washing machine, because goodness knows we do tons of laundry. And then read that over and over and over, maybe memorize it, right? So that it's in your mind all the time.
Right.
Where does my help come from? My help comes from you, those kinds of things. And just to keep it going all the time.
And yeah, you mentioned that, and I thinking about it, I've got a couple things on my email notification, that little prayer, John 3:14, just on there every morning, 7 a.m., just to remind you. It pops up, a scheduled thing. Oh yeah, I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me. Okay, that's a good way to start the day, because stuff is going to happen. And just having that constant reminder. So thank you for telling us to do that again.
Yeah. It's important.
Yeah, it is good, because we need that positive encouragement, positive reaffirmations in our lives. And yeah, there's no better source from the one that created us. So,
that's right.
Well, Tess, tell people where they can find out more about you, your book, that's coming out. You have a date, and I'm just going to say June 2022, because I don't want to vary, the date could vary just a little bit, but look out for that. Tell us more about that, where people can get a hold of you.
So I have a website, listensister.ca, and you can order the book off there. You can just read my bio, see the picture of all my kids. Some of them aren't even in that picture, because that family grows all the time. There's a couple people
they couldn't fit on those logs, huh?
That's right, we couldn't, and it's hard to get everybody together. So I'm like, well, we're just going to keep this picture for now until you guys all come together and get another picture. Yeah. But you can see that, and just check out that website if you have time. That would be great. You can read some of my blogs and interesting little stories. The book is launching. The ebook is out now, and the paperback is launching on June 14th. So that's available at Barnes & Noble, Chapters, Indigo, Amazon, of course. I saw it on Walmart.com. Just blows my mind, I tell you. All those places, like it's just like
Wow.
I look at it, I'm like, that's my name.
Yeah.
Yeah, really cool. These are my stories. Everyone's gonna know that I walked out with my, skirt tucked in my underwear or whatever. All those things. Like, oh well. I never worry. I never worry about writing stories about my sons because they'll never read it. Right?
They won't read it, but everybody has those stories, and that's
Yes.
what's so nice about it. It's like, yeah, I can relate to that.
Yeah.
And it's great. It's a real good book. So check that out. It's good stuff. So thank you for the encouragement in our society and for what you do, Tess. And thank you for being a guest on the Encouragement Engineering podcast, because I really appreciate it.
Oh, Bob, thanks a lot. And thanks for doing this. I love that you're encouraging people.
Well, thank you so much. And I will keep that up just because, we need it. Our society needs it. And God gave me the strength. So why not do it?
Okay, that's awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you, Tess. You have a great day.
Yeah, you too.